As to where we're holding here. We're making a distinction, an ongoing distinction between the Luchos Rishonos and the Luchos Shnios. Al Pi HaMasorah, the Luchos that are spoken about in Mishnah Torah is the nusach of the Luchos Shnios. It doesn't say that in the Chumash, but that's the Masorah, that's the Luchos Shnios. Parshas Yisro is the Luchos Rishonos, and there are shinuyim in them. The point that we've been bringing out is that the real difference is there's luchos kodim hashvira and luchos acher hashvira. The breaking of the luchos itself put Klal Yisrael into a whole different matzav. So, for instance, when the luchos were broken, so shikha came to the world. There was no shikha satira before that. Now there's shikha satira. And according to chazal, the Luchos Shnios were the chiddush of Torah Sheh Bal Peh. So in other words, the Luchos Rishonos was Torah Sheh Bal Peh, the Luchos Shnios was Torah Sheh Bal Peh. Brought a lot of rayas, but it makes sense because if there was shikha, so once there's shikha, how do you get back to Torah? So the answer is by formulating it, by using Midas Shatar and Dreshes, by Pilpulai Shalasnil Ben Kanaz, by all the different techniques that you can use to reformulate and create Torah. That's Torah Sheh Bal Peh. Torah Sheh B'Ksav is Kach Kibalti. So the Shikha goes together with Torah Sheh Bal Peh, the Shviras Haluchos. It was only after the Shviras Haluchos and the Ma'aseh Egel and the Ma'aseh of Tshuva that Moshe Rabbeinu had the comfort level, if you will, to say to HaKadosh Boruch Hu, Hareini Noas K'vodecha. I want to see you, because it was so much closer through Torah Sheh Bal Peh than they were through Torah Sheh B'Ksav. So the Yashir Koach Shibarta had a profound effect on the closeness, ironically, on the closeness of Klal Yisrael to HaKadosh Boruch Hu. To put it simply, struggle itself, the Avera of the Egel caused the Shviras Haluchos. All of that caused the struggle. The struggle itself had a benefit to it. And when you want to put the benefit into one word, when you want to put the benefit into one word, what's the benefit of struggle? Internalization. You're struggling. It's I always give the mashal that like sometimes kids that don't do good in school end up being much more chashuv than kids that did do good in school, because since it didn't come easy to them, so they have to work. If they work, if they don't work, then they end up nothing. But if they do work, so then it's possible, it's yitachim, that they become more than those that it came easy, because the struggle creates a certain connection, a certain intimacy with the material, a certain the internalization is makes it very, very deep.
The struggle.
You want to add on to
the struggle of Yaakov with the Molech.
Yeah, maybe that's the shot. So one of the differences is what we learned last time. One of the differences between the Luchos Rishonos and the Luchos Shnios is in the Luchos Shnios it says Tov. Tov. It doesn't say Tov in the first. Laman Yitav Loch Ba'arachta Yamin, by the mitzvah kibud of aim. It doesn't say the Luchos Rishonos Laman Yitav Loch. So why is there only Tov in the Luchos Shnios and not Tov in the Luchos Rishonos? So the answer is because Tov is something much deeper. That's good. It's not just, it's good is something much deeper. So the mitzvahs of the Torah became much deeper, if you will, and therefore the much more tov in the time of Luchos Shnios or from Torah Sheh Bal Peh. So there's Torah Sheh B'Ksav, so it'd be like it's a religion. There's a bunch of rules. That's what you have to do. It's not tov because it's not deep. So we're here So this beautiful shot, let's just review it again. The shot in the Gemara in Kedushin Lamed Aleph. The Gemara says that Avimi, just to remind you, Avimi was very, very makbid on kibud of. So the Gemara says that one time his father called to him and said, "I need something to drink. Give me some water." And he ran with the cup of water to his father's bedside. He was sick, obviously. And by the time he got there, his father was asleep, so he didn't give him the water. So the Gemara says that Gachin Alav, he stood over him, maybe for hours, with the glass of water, so that when he wakes up immediately, he'll have the glass of water. So the Gemara says, Istaya Milsa, it worked out good for him, because during that time that he was standing there bending over his father with a glass of water, he was Machadish Tibshat in Mizmar La'asaf. Bo Goyim B'nach There's a parakantilum which speaks about the Babylonians destroying the Beis HaMikdash, coming into Jerusalem, destroying the Beis HaMikdash. So the Gemara says, Avibi asked this kasha while he was holding a glass of water, Mizmar La'asaf, Kido La'asaf, what's the Mizmar about the Babylonians coming in and killing people and destroying the Beis HaMikdash? What's the Mizmar? Or at least the pasuk's talking about coming into the Beis HaMikdash and destroying it. So he was Machadish, his famous Chiddush Avimi, while he was standing there, Dafka, that the Mizmar was that it came al ha'itzim v'al ha'avanim, and HaKadosh Boruch Hu didn't wipe out the Jewish people. It came al ha'itzim v'al ha'avanim. So, okay, so that was his Chiddush, Gavaldik, and the Schus of Kibud Av. What's the kesher? What's the kesher between that particular Chiddush? Like, why do you think about that particular Chiddush when he was holding the glass of water over his father? He was thinking about the apparently, something says he was thinking about Bol Goyim B'nach Losecha, was the Siluk HaShchina from Yerushalayim. He's talking about the Siluk HaShchina. And he was talking about the fact that the Siluk HaShchina is always taken as a very negative thing. And yet it's Mizmar La'asaf, it's a Mizmar. So the answer is, what he was Machadish here was that Siluk HaShchina is negative, but Siluk HaShchina is also positive. Because the galus, the struggle that came from the Bo Goy Menach Lasecha, we lost a lot from it. It was very expensive. But the fact of the matter is, for those that survived, it caused a very, very deep internalization of Torah. And so he was Dafke Machadish that when we talk about Golos, the Golos is not only a bad thing. Golos has a good aspect to it also, and that is that there's a Torah Sheh Bal Peh that comes out of it. That was his Chiddush. So what Makesher Kibud of the aim. So that's actually what we're going to explain now. But somehow the Leman Yitavla of the Second Luchos, the struggling caused the Tov. We still don't know, and this is troubling. What's the kesher? This is what I want to try to explain today. What's the kesher dafka? It should say at the beginning of the Aseres HaDibros, the Second Luchos. Okay, gentlemen, we're going to try this again. Take two, and this time it'll be Leman Yitavlach. Like, why do you have to wait all the way till kibud of aim? Why only over there is it Leman Yitavlach? What's wrong with Aloich Hashem Alekecha? Leman Yitavlach. Keep Shabbos Leman Yitavlach. Let's not just keep it of aim. Now we don't understand. But what we do understand so far, somewhat, is that the Leman Yitavlach comes only after the struggle. It's only Tov after the struggle. It's only Tov by the Second Luchos. It's only Tov, this Madrig of Tov, Dafka, ironically, is only after the Chorban, basically. That's when you have a Mizmar. That's when you have a Shira. That's when you have a Mizmar and a Shira. You can only sing. See, I think I explained last time that Shira is Lashon Shirayim. It's Lashon Shirayim. It's the spillover of the Nefesh. If somebody just gets up on a stage and sings, okay, it's an opera singer, like, wow, how talented. But when you see singing that's coming from deep, deep inside, so that's Shira. That's called Shira. Zimra is even deeper, apparently. So this is the term, shiur of a zimra. Zimra is even deeper than shiur, but shiur is a very deep expression. It's a very deep expression. So, mizmar l'David or mizmar l'Asaf means there was a very deep expression of shiur, and that's what we're calling tov. Vayar Hashem ki tov, which we talked about. So let's just do a little bit inside. Hashayna b'loy zimra. Let's just start over there. The Gemara Megillah Amud Beis says Hashayna b'loy zimra. Okay, let's just look at the Gemara inside. This is the very last.
328. About 10 lines down or so. Where it says there's brackets there.
This is actually quite an astonishing Gemara. Right here. The Gemara at the very end of Megillah, Daf Lamed Beis, says like this: Kol ha-koirei. I don't think he quotes here the whole Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol ha-koirei b'loy ne'ima. If you read the Torah without ne'ima, without a tune, without the notes, V'shona below Zimra. What's the difference in Korah and Shona? What's the difference? Korah is Torah Sheh Bal Peh. Shona is Torah Sheh Bal Peh. So, okay, we know you're supposed to lane with a tune, right? Daber Hashem Moshe more. But Shona means you're learning Mishnah. So Shona below Zimra. So let's say you learn without a niggin. Just learn, you read it. I'm reading it. So, Shona below Zimra. Olav HaKasav Omer, on him the pasuk says, Rabbi Yochanan, V'gam ani nasati lahem chukim lo toivu u'mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. Well, this is a pasuk of Yecheskel. Yecheskel Hanavi, who was right after the Babylonian exile, was reviewing Ayidei prophecy to the Jewish people. What just happened here? What just happened? To see what we're referring to over here. Yecheskel. This is the Haftarah. This is the Haftarah for Parshas Kedoshim. Why I happen to know it. And Yecheskel's explaining that people didn't keep the Torah. V'yamru b'yabonim. He's explaining what the Galus was all about. V'yamru b'yabonim b'chukaisai loy halachu v'es mishpatai loy shamru v'asais oisam asher ya'aseh oisam ha'adam v'chai b'hem. People didn't do mishpatim, they didn't do the Torah. Shavsoisai chilelu. They were Mechal Shabbos. V'oimar lishboi chamasi aleim. So I said, let me get angry at them. L'chalois api bam b'midbar. Let me destroy them already in the midbar. This is not talking about the time of the midbar Yitzias Mitzrayim. It's talking about Yitzias Eretz Yisrael. V'ashivois yis yodi v'as l'man shmi. But I held myself back. V'as l'man shmi, and I did it because it would be embarrassing to me, Hashem says, to destroy the Jewish people right now. Levilti hachel le'ilei hagoyim. It's like, what are the goyim going to say? That's the funny Hashem's worried about this. It will be a chil Hashem. I thought only Charedim said it. Hechel Hashem if I destroy the Jews. So the only reason he didn't destroy the Jews was because Hechel le'ilei hagoyim. Asher etzesi I said le'ideihem. Because I took them out. Then I'm taking them out. Le'ideihem, right in their eyes. I'm destroying the Jewish people. So what are the goyim going to say? We see that they're not the chosen people. You see that the Torah is not real. You see?
And that I don't keep my promises.
And you see, I don't keep my promises. Gam ani nasasi es yadi lahem b'midbar lahafitz oisem b'goyim l'zaris oisem ba'aratzos. But I said, let me spread them out around the world. Let me make a golus for them. L'zaris oisem ba'aratzai, spray them around the lands. Yan mishpatai lo yasu, because they didn't do my mishpatim, v'chukaisai ma'asu, and they were disgusted with my chukim. V'shavsoisai chilelu. V'achrei gilulei avoisam hayu eineihem. And they went after the avodah zarah of their ancestors. So this is Yecheskel explaining what just happened here. What just happened here? The Chorban Beis Hamikdash, the Galus. V'gam ani nosati lohem, and this is the pasuk we're referring to. Gam ani nosati lohem chukim lo tovim u'mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. You're going after laws that I didn't make. You're going after like laws of the goyim. So now you'll be subject to the gzeros of the goyim. That's what Yecheskel said. Gzeros of the goyim. In other words, either you're in touch with, it's such a poignant nevuah here that Yecheskel say. You say, like a lot of Jews want it both ways. Like we want to have like protection from HaKadosh Boruch Hu, but enjoyment by being like the goyim. So like you have to make a choice. If you want to go the goyim way, so now you'll be subject to the rules of the goyim, which is we hate you.
International law.
International law. I thought for like 5 minutes right before Mincha 125, when somebody left, I just looked at the UN proceedings in Geneva. Which is it?
Yeah,
it's just like unbelievable. I don't know why it's unbelievable to me. This poor mother with the kidnapped kid went to
in the
speak
lion's
to
den.
Yeah, she literally kifsa achas ben shivim zevim. She's sitting there with all of these people with ties and suits, and you have the floor, you have the floor, you have the floor, and in front of this woman, even no, Israel did this, and Israel did that, and Israel kidnapped hundreds of kids, and Israel takes away education, Israel goes into classrooms of Arabs, and they shoot up in the ceiling just to scare all the kids. The army does Israel. Lies, because lies, and lies, and lies, and lies. It's just one after the other, like it did not one place Libya, like one after the other, it just brought up, we really don't have, except for the United States, I think, the United States and Canada, we have like zero friends out there. like we really don't. I mean, we can't fool ourselves. Like this is a real thing. Register, very sophisticated language, and very no talk about kidnapping. The collective punishment. No talk about the fact that Syria just sent a missile into Israel. I'm not a politician, but it doesn't even come up. No talk about terrorism or blowing up buses or nothing. This is not important. So, you see that, at best, me'enei hagoyim. I'm not I'm not one of these, scratch a goy, you get an anti-Semite necessarily. It's not I didn't grow up that way. But it's just so interesting that the machlokes amongst the goyim is whether we're allowed to exist or not. L'kula alma, we're not allowed to kill anybody, even if they're involved in terrorists. But so America said, I had to. What do you mean? They're also allowed to protect themselves. Like Grace of Chiddush over here. So the pshat is that this is what Yecheskel says, that you want to go with the goyim. If you want to go with the goyim, you want to go to the theater with the goyim, so now you have to do the zeros of the goyim. So that's Yecheskel's Musar Shmuz over here. So how does he say this? Gam ani nasati lahem chukim lo tovim u'mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. Since you went achrei gilulei avoisam hayu eineihem, you went with the gilulei avoisam. Gam ani nasati lahem chukim lo tovim u'mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. Atama oisam matnoisam v'haver kol peter. It goes on to say that when you go with the goyim, you become subject to the goyim. It's pashut, but it's not so pashut. It's pashut, it's not so pashut. Now, hafla of a fella is such a clear, poignant shmuz and musar that Yecheskel gives Klal Yisrael that we never listened to. And he was telling this. Understand what took place over here. Understand what took place over here. Comes Rabbi Yaacov, and he says like this. He says takes this major thing, and he says kol hakayr b'loy ne'ima v'shayna b'loy zimra. If you learn without a niggin, all of HaKasav on him the pasuk says gam ani nasati lam chukim lo tovim u'mishpatim lo yichyu b'hem. You'll be subject to the gzeros of the goyim. For learning without a niggin, this is the issue. The issue is that I'm not learning without a niggin. The issue is I'm not learning. I'm in the bars and I'm in the theater. That's the issue. The issue is I'm being chal Shabbos. I'm learning without a niggin. So, in fact, the Gemara asks, Maskif la Abayis says we should la yadol v'asome kole. He doesn't happen to have a good voice. Ksiv bei mishpatim la yichyu bahem. How could it be? How could it be? That's actually the Gemara's question. But that's what Rabbi Yochanan said. That's what Rabbi Yochanan said. So what's the pshat? So comes Rabbi Tzadok, and he says, let's just leave this inside. Hashoyna v'lo zimro ma desal kedaitach sham. The havamin of the Gemara dal zen namar bal yichyun, that on learning without a niggin, it says bal yichyun, you will not live by my rules. You're going to live by the goyim's rules. Hainu zachiyus. What's the pshat? What's the pshat in this havamin? Hainu means da'achiyus shebedivrei Torah hu kishahu b'simcha b'tuv leivav. Shazu margish chiyus. He's touching the pasuk carefully. That's what he's saying. The Gemara is touching the pasuk very carefully. It doesn't. In my rule, says Hashem, you will not live. Living means that you're singing. Living means that you're besimcha. If you're not besimcha with living with me, then you're not doing anything. That's the havamin of the Gemara. Well, parach, and that the Gemara says, so I don't know how to sing. Leave me alone. I don't know how to sing. So it doesn't mean that I'm an apakaris or something. It doesn't. So Hainu mishum mikol malkim after shemargus achiyus v'asimcha b'leiv. The only kasha was, okay, the person doesn't know how to sing, but still, it doesn't mean you can't sing in your heart. And that's what the Gemara says. Even though you can't articulate the song, you can still be happy. You can still be happy. So it means to say as follows. You see, here's what I think. I think this is a very sharp. There's a couple sentences here. That you see, if you learn Torah without simcha, without zimra, without niggin, so I think this is the pshat. It's not the pshat that you're learning Torah without a niggin. I'm learning Torah, but I'm doing it without a niggin. Then you're not. The Torah that you're learning has not internalized. It's phenomenal. You're doing something up here. You're not. If you don't get that geshmak, anybody who's gone through a sukkah even once in their life, knows a certain simcha that there's no simcha in simcha because simcha sater. There's a certain. If you don't reach that point of simcha, ding ding ding, boing, it hit the simcha button. If it doesn't hit the simcha button, it means that it hasn't gone in deep enough. And it's like you're at one of those places in Coney Island or something. When you hit the bullseye, all of a sudden the music goes off. Right? So like here's it. So when the Torah hits that button, that means you've internalized it. The music goes off, and you're shining boy zimmer. If you don't hit that, okay, maybe I can't sing it well because I have polyps in my throat or something. But it doesn't mean that you're not margish the simcha. If you're learning without simcha, so it's not that you're learning without simcha. You're not learning. It's not really Torah. It's like you actually, like you say, sometimes people you have to do things with kavanah. Better to do things with kavanah than to do things without kavanah. But if you do it without kavanah, you've also done something. Like let's say you're shover Shabbos. Okay, so better to do it with some kind of kavanah of the Bria Soilov and the celebrating HaKadosh Boruch Hu. But if you can't do the kavanah, you do it without kavanah. But there's certain things without kavanah are just stupid. Like let's say you say I love you to my wife and you have no kavanah. Mitzvahs hanashim alamada. So not only it's not a milo, it's l'chayr, it's megareya. Even though I just heard yesterday a psak from a rav in Los Angeles, he said that it's mutter to say I love you to your wife when she's in nida because it's no longer a davar shel chiba. It's like average, like saying good morning. This is what Rav told me. So I said to him, does that mean you're allowed to say I love you to somebody else's wife? I have a point, no? Nachiba. What's the... I hear what you're saying. If it's not a davar shel chiba, then don't say it. It doesn't make any sense not to say it. It doesn't mean that it's like a deep romantic necessarily every time. But it's a davar shel chiba. Of course, it's a davar shel chiba. So, but if there's no chiba in it, it's almost megareya. That's the point. It's megareya.
Is your learning supposed to bring you the simcha? Or are you supposed to have the simcha before you get to the learning, and therefore?
I don't think either one. I think that if you don't learn, if you don't feel that simcha, it's not that it brings you to simcha. If you don't feel the simcha, it means you didn't learn it. It's not Torah. But this is dafka Torah Sheh Bal Peh. Torah Sheh Bal doesn't have this segula of simcha, because simcha is something from a very panimi point, and Torah Sheh Bal Peh is something from a very panimi point.
So why don't we read the Torah with the drop?
So there's a difference between ne'ima, should be nice. Nice is the timing. B'shoina b'lo zimra. So ne'ima is, it's pleasant, it's nice to listen, it's comfortable to listen to in the shul. It's not boring, it's not abrasive, it's ne'ima. But zimra is niggin.
Isn't sometimes even tears even deeper than Zimra?
It can also be zimra. It's another form of internalization.
Yeah.
But not while you're learning. Why aren't you allowed to learn on Tisha B'Av?
Simcha.
Okay, so a person says, I don't feel any simcha. It's not a davar shel kibud. And a chanami, you're talking about learning on Tisha B'Av.
They shoot it on it.
Yeah, you're talking about learning. I think if you don't feel something, you're talking about learning. Like, it's not what are you doing? You're just gathering information. I'm not saying la halacha, but it's not a davar shel simcha. It's not a. But it's also not called learning. I don't know if you can make a bracha, lasik b'divrei Torah.
Some people might be mitzvah to tzaf. Some people might be a mitzvah to learn to show tzaf.
That's even entirely. So all this so let's just review this again one more time. So how do we get from Yecheskel's unbelievable musar to learning with a niggin? The answer is what Yecheskel was saying is that Bal Yichyun, if you might have done mitzvahs, but you didn't do the mitzvahs and you didn't learn the Torah from a very, very deep place inside. And since you didn't learn the Torah from a very deep place inside, it was all superficial. It wasn't real. So that's the Bal Yichyun. So Rabbi Yochanan says you better start singing. You better start singing because that's going to be the siman of limud Torah properly. So interesting. If you're learning Torah, if you're giving a shiur, if you're listening to a shiur, and it's not geschmack, if it doesn't give you simcha, then something's wrong. Something's wrong with the shiur, with the listening, with the there's something like that's supposed to be the ultimate goal here, or the siman.
And there's no trouble in the Gemara, so it has to be shir chadash from yourself.
Right. So Tosfos argues with you. I'll come here. He says that Shoyne b'loy zimra. This is such a Tosfos, it's such a Litvisher Tosfos. Like, what are you supposed to sing exactly? Like, what nigga do you want me to sing? So he says, how you regil l'shanos ha'mishnayis b'zimra l'fi shal yishanos al peh v'ayidei kach ha'yinuskarim yosef. So Tosfos says the pshat is that if you sing it, you remember, make a niggin out of it, like a Zilberman's type of a chant. But Rabbi Tzadok's saying no, it's not what it means. It means because it's referring to the pasuk in Yecheskel. It means that Bal Yichyun, you have to live in it. I'm a chaya. You ever heard that expression? It's a machaya. It's life.
Does this make sense then? No. Torah Sheh Bal Peh, so therefore you want to remember it. Therefore, does this make sense for Torah Sheh Bal Peh? That's why
it works once you know the Rabbi Tzadok.
That's why you need zimra.
Right. It doesn't work on its own, though, Tosfos. You need to have this piece of the depth. So what we're talking about here is the depth, but not depth of learning only, but depth of internalization of the concepts. Now, let's go to the hard part. We have a couple more minutes. The hard part is, again, what does it have to do with kibud avein? Dafka. Why does the Laman, here's the question, why does the Laman Yitavlach, which we understand belongs in the Luchos Shnias, and we understand that it's only toiv if it's bezimra or bashira. And that's called toiv. Toiv, these are our synonyms here. Tov, Yitavlach, shira, zimra. We understand all that, but why kibud avein? Why is that Laman Yitavlach? So So he says, Parach mishum lo yadu l'psumei kol hainu mishum l'mikom al kanafshe shemargish achiyus v'asimcha b'leiv av shelo yochel lovei l'izgalus b'peh v'zeu l'man yitav. That's what l'man yitav sheba mi kibud av v'aim. It comes dafke from kibud av v'aim da'yidei ha'kavod shemachabed l'misha roy l'chabed, because by being machabed he or she which deserves that kavod, like your parents, zoiche gam kein l'kavod, you get kavod. K'mashiisa eza mechubad hamachabed es habriyos. Now this requires audience participation, because this is like a Polisher over here. Like, why does it say Lamani Tavloch by Kibud of Aim? Why? Because it'll be good for you to do Kibud of Aim, because if you're do Kibud of Aim, if you're Machabed, then Hashem says, doesn't Pirkei Avos, you get covered. If I get covered, that's Tov. Still, it's why? What's the Nakuda of Lamani Tavloch or Kibud of Aim? So let me, in my humble opinion, let me repeat the Yisai, that Lois Sirtzach, it says in the Sarsa Dibros, whether you had kavanah or you didn't have kavanah, whether you were lishma or not lishma, if you didn't do it by accident, it was Lois Sirtzach. If you meant, meaning that needs kavanah. Kavanah doesn't need lishma. What's the difference between kavanah and lishma? Kavanah means I meant to do it. Did you kill him by accident? Was it a shaygay? Or did you kill him on purpose? You killed him on purpose. But it wasn't like lishma. I got to do it with obek kavanah and say okay, you did it kavanah loisirtzach. Kibud of aim is the only one of the Aseres HaDibros, Ladati, that the lishma of it is a chelik of the mitzvah. Meaning, if my child is going to give me kavod and not mean it, it's I don't want the kavod. It's an empty kavod. Not only is it an empty kavod, it's not kavod. The hefts of kavod. I'm not saying that you could do kavod below kavanah, kavod with kavanah. I'm saying that kavod is a special kind of a chiddush here, like I love you. Kavod means that the only time it's called kavod is if it's b'kavanah, if it comes from the deepest place within me. That's kavod. Then it can be humble. It's not about millions of dollars. It's about, waiting with it, giving it a glass of water. That's the kavod. So kavod is the only mitzvah. It's an important thing. Kavod. Everybody, Misharoi is kavod. Tzaddik, Talmid Chacham, a parent, a teacher. Somebody you give kavod for. If the kavod is not lishma, then it's not that it's kavod shelo lishma. It's kavodish. You're not doing anything. It's empty. It's an empty thing. It's a psaguf b'loy neshama. So it requires dafka, like an internalization. We all know this. Like we wanted to do kibud avein when we were young. It was very difficult because there was no internalization. There was no deep appreciation. How can you have a deep appreciation? Like this is we were just born into the situation. I'm the kid, you're the parent, you take care of me. It was and you're not doing a good enough job at it. But eventually, often when it's too late, you realize, whoa, like this was like way beyond the call of duty, and even if it wasn't, it deserves kavod. And all of a sudden, there's a very deep internal place of giving kavod, so that you have to be zocheh to do that, while you still can. But that kavod it has to be b'kavanah, has to be from a deep place. It has to be sichyun, and therefore there it can say laman yitavlach. I'll give you a mashal from the Gemara. The Gemara says in Bab Metzia, says like lo yomad adam. I think this is the exact lashon. Lo yomad adam al manashi yamoid lefanav. Lo yomad adam al manashi yikra Rebbe. Lo yomad adam al manashi yichabed oisei elo. Asay dvarim leman poel. Just learn. Learn Torah, become a Talmid Chacham. B'soif hakavod lavei. At the end, you'll have kavod. So it's a tricky Gemara. What does that mean? It means don't learn for kavod, and then you'll get kavod. So first of all, Come on. Like, okay, I won't learn for kavod, not doing for kavod. Why? Because I want to get kavod. so you are learning for kavod. Okay. But is kavod a virtue or is it not a virtue? If it's not a virtue, so why is it telling you at the end, so for kavod lavo? If it is a virtue, so do it for that. I mean, if it's not a virtue, so just, what it should say, Elo asay dvarim l'man pa'olam, and the kavod part, shtus. Like, what's this sofa kavod lavo? So I'll tell you the Pshat in the Gemara, I believe. The Pshat in the Gemara is that there's a difference between kavod and kibud. Kibud, it's like somebody, like you're supposed to do that, like that's what you're supposed to do. But that's a kibud. It's not really. It's important. Maybe it's halachic even, but it's just a gesture.
Superficial.
It's a gesture. It's a superficial gesture. It's not something which is coming from a very deep place. Kavod comes from a deep place. So what the Gemara is really telling us over here is, stop worrying about the shtus. Stop worrying about the Manashi Rebbe, Manashi Yamid Lefan. The shtusim. That's their obligation. It's other people's obligation. But as far as you're concerned, you are learning Torah. Shtus. What's important? What is of value? Real kavod. So I say dvarim l'man polam v'sofa kavod lavay. It's not about kibud. It's about real kavod, true appreciation, true understanding of what you're doing. But for that you have to learn lishma. Nobody's going to give you that kind of kavod. That level of kavod nobody gives to a shaloi lishmanik. You see it, like in front of them they give kavod, but as soon as they walk away, talk lashon hara about it. Because only by the tzaddik lishma you get the serious kavod. So I think that's the pshat. It says that's why it says toiv dafka by the mitzvah of kavod, because kavod has to be from a pneumius place, and that's why the Pirkei Avos says kol ha'machabedus habriyos. What's the lashon over? Eze mechubod ha'machabedus habriyos. That ha'machabedus habriyos, if you're coming from a very deep place and you're giving your kavod from a very deep place, then you're a mechubad. It's not that you're giving kavod. You are mechubad. In other words, you're a generator of kavod. Nachon?
You can say that by the first mitzvah, Anochi Hashem. You just say Anochi Hashem.
There's no mitzvah there, though.
If you assume it's a mitzvah, I'm saying, why not say Tov by Anochi Hashem?
No, because the only mitzvah is lo yeh lecha. It's not a commandment per se. It's true, but it's belief. I mean, I'm just saying it's no. You see, let me answer a question more properly. The thing with there are mitzvahs shebalev, choyvos halavavos, and there's mitzvahs biyadayim, tzedakah. Kavod is one of those mitzvahs that have to go deep into the lave. It's got to draw upon the deepest waters, well waters of the lave. On the one hand, then it has to come out l'mais also. At the end of the day, you have to get a glass of water. You have to stand up. But there's two different places. Don't do it to stand up. Do it from kavod and then stand up. So like you're covering the check. So it's the only place where it has a very, very deep source, and it's articulated on the most superficial level. That's the chefza. That's a mitzvah's hakavod. It's like singing when you learn. It's coming from a very deep place, and then it's articulated b'chutz with zimra. So on that, Abaye said, so what if you can't sing? You can't articulate. Okay, at least you have the deep part. But the what we're looking for, toiv, is when it's starting like the check is covered from a very, very deep-rooted account. It starts here and I guess works itself all the way out. That's the. I always say, like mamish, everybody in the room could write out a tzedakah check for $1 million. The trick is to cover it. Everybody can write. So to write the check, everybody can write a check. Everybody could talk tzaddik, talk the tzaddik talk. Everybody could say all the right things. There's a concept in yeshivas of yeshiva she'ivrim. Like this concept. That means when there's a certain language you can use to sound like a big Talmud Chacham. They're really a big Amarts. It's good for shidduchim. That's what it's good for. You could even write whole books. You can write a whole book of just this jargon. It's like jive. There's no omek in it at all. But I'm saying you can see, it's like the yeshiva bacher, the famous story of the yeshiva bacher, the Amoritz, who goes to interview with a prospective shver, and he says to his friend, I really don't know. He's going to talk to me in learning. I really don't know what to. I'm not holding a learning over. So the friend says to him, he says, I'll give you an eight. So just tell him to say some Torah, and you'll comment on it. And then whenever he breathes, just say, yeah, but my nafkamina. So he goes to the guy and he says, maybe he'll tell me some Torah. He says, no, let's discuss whatever you're learning, even better, So the fellow starts, I just came across this. He says, yeah, but my nafkamina. No idea what he's talking about. So the fellow will say, whoa, this kid's an Eli. He's going on, the conversation is going on for an hour. Rosh is going on here, he tells his daughter. This is a going on, So 3 words, my nafkamina. It's just ivra, it's just, okay, my nafkamina. So that's the pshat, that it comes from a very deep place and it's articulated to a very chitzoni place. I don't want to finish the sugya because I'm just feel like it's so important that our Yiddishkeit, our Torah, is not chitzoni. It's just. I'm not talking about having kavanah. I don't mean kavanah. It's like the whole thing is pnimius. That's the whole point of Torah is pnimius, a different person. It's not what we do; it's what we are, and therefore we do. It's a different, important thing. So that's ezo mechubad hamachabed as habriyos. So it's not about getting kavod; it's about being a mechubad, deep. Ve'ein kavod el Torah. Again, this is not just like a Xer Shabbos over here. Ein kavod el Torah, that if I'm learning Torah, meaning Torah properly, so then there's kavod there. How do we know that? The kavod is pasuk in Mishlei. The kavod chachamim yinchalu. The kavod goes to chachamim, to those that can internalize that which they are teaching. It's like a politician can say everything, says all the right things. They don't deserve any kavod. If it's just political. Somebody deserves kavod. Somebody who's really echpat lahem on what they're talking about. Stop to say all the right things. Okay, very nice. It's hard to tell. Some people it's hard. That's how I can tell in a second. Whether somebody is. But again, I'm sorry to keep repeating myself. I'm not talking about sincerity. I'm talking about depth. Sincerity, depth of the statement, depth of the concern, the depth. Is it coming really from who I am? This is the avoda here. There's an avoda and actually a transformation, a very, very deep. And this is only, he says, al yidei chachmas Torah Sheh Bal Peh. He says, when we say, ein kavod el Torah, the pasuk Shlomo HaMelech says, kvod chachamim yinchalu, hainu al yidei chachmas Torah Sheh Bal Peh. It's only through chachmas Torah Sheh Bal Peh, because the chazal say, Lo matzinu kavod, the idea of kavod to a person, Lo matzinu kavod ad yavitz. We don't find kavod until we get to yavitz. Over there it says in Divrei Hayamim, Vayihi nichbad. That was an ish mechubad. Who was yavitz? Who's the yavitz? Yavitz, so the Gemara says, and it's true, if you look in Divrei Hayamim, you follow the generations, it's very clear that Yavitz was the nickname for Asniel ben Kenaz. Asniel ben Kenaz was the brother of Kalev ben Yefuneh. So his father was Kenaz and his father was Yefuneh. So the same mother. They had the same mother. So they had the same mother. So he was and he also married, Asniel ben Kenaz also married the daughter of Kalev ben Yefuneh. So there was Asniel ben Kenaz married his niece. And he was the shofet miyad after Yeshua. Asniel ben Kenaz was a great shofet, who was also called Yavetz. That's what Chazal said. That was you find him appears in 2 different ways. What was his greatness? That Klal Yisrael, when Moshe Rabbeinu died, Klal Yisrael forgot 3,000 halachas, the Gemara says. They forgot 3,000 halachas. Uba asniel the hechserois of the pilpula. And he reconstructed with his pilpul. So Asniel ben Kenaz was a shofet that had a big yeshiva and a big base medrash, and he was a big Rosh Yeshiva. And besides for being the shofet and running the wars and all that, everything the shofet has to do, judging the people, he also was a tremendous marbitz Torah, Asniel ben Kenaz. But his Torah was different than the Torah of Moshe. His Torah was the Torah of reconstruction. He was a reconstructionist. Because his Torah had to come, Moshe's Torah came from Shemayim. I'm not knocking Moshe's Torah, but it just came in a Shemayim. Asniel ben Kenaz was machzerosim b'pilpulai. That's a much deeper, it's coming from a deeper place. So since he was machzerosim b'pilpulai, like you have to draw upon everything within himself to give back these shloishes halachas to Klal Yisrael, so therefore the Torah says on him, mechubad. So here you see the idea of kavod. Mechubad. Why was he mechubad? Because he was mechubad, deep inside. We don't know about anybody until even Moshe. He wasn't called mechubad, except for Asniel ben Kenaz, because he was the only one that we knew that drew upon the deepest wells of Torah from within him. Vayihi nichbad, ayidei shiribitz Torah. Just one more minute. V'hu Asniel shalokad kiryas sefer. He captured kiryas sefer. Rosh. He was the Rosh l'machadshim u'mefalpulin b'Torah Sheh Bal Peh. He was the one who started really Torah Sheh Bal Peh. Rashi, because of which came about through the Shveres Haluchos, Shichas HaTorah. 3,000 halachas were forgotten from the Tsar. It was all Shicha, and let's compensate. Now Rashi says in Tainas Daf Daled that how did Asniel know how to be Machadish 3,000 halachas? How do you b'chadash 3,000 halachas that we forgot? It says Rashi, as the kasha is like Rashi, ayidei hashras ruach hakodesh. Oh, takes us right back to ruach hakodesh. Rashi in Parshas Kisisa. Remember we learned together. Betzalel, right? I gave him asati loy chachma tvuna vadas, right? So what's das? So Rashi zu ruach hakodesh. Ruach HaKodesh is the part where you take the bites of information called Chachma, you process it through Bina, and we learned Ruach HaKodesh is where it's completely internalized, toggled into my system. It's completely mine. So Rashi comes to, here's Tzadok coming full circle in this brilliant way. That when Asniel ben Kenaz, how was he mechanish 3,000 halachas? The answer is Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, big deal. Ruach HaKodesh. No, Ruach HaKodesh is the act of finding something very, very deep within yourself, internalizing, and then you become Torah. And that's why he was nichbad, vayihi nichbad. So he's a mechubad, ha-mechabed es-abriya. Kavod is the deepest thing. Hence, we've explained, I believe, why it says leman yitavloch dafka by kibud avayim and dafka in the Luchos Shniyos. Good.